some lessons don't come from books. They come from bruises. They come from life.
There is no substitute for experience, period.
Some of the biggest successes were a byproduct of failure.
If you want to learn, build, and grow,
Why not learn from somebody who's already paid the price for success?
the wisdom is in the gray.
This is the Greybeard Show.
Greybeard Show. Learn,
Build.
grow.
And welcome to the show. You're listening to the Greybeard Show. I'm your host, Sean Davis, otherwise known as Greybeard, in case you didn't catch that. I'm a coach, and more importantly, I'm a mentor. I mentor business owners. I mentor executives. I mentor high-charging folks, and I mentor people that do not want to be stuck, people that want to live life on purpose. And today's show is going to be right up that alley. It's going to be exactly for people that want to start living on purpose, live by design. Okay, so it's going to be 7 steps to living on purpose, especially those of you out there that have been feeling like you're drifting or feeling stuck. This show is going to be a perfect show for you. I've got some literature I'll give out throughout today's show, but let's just jump right into it. So let me ask you something straight. Are you really living life on purpose right now, or are you just drifting? It's kind of a hard question, isn't it? And most people, if they're honest, they don't like their own answer. Okay, you see, drifting feels safe. It feels familiar. You wake up, grab the coffee, go to work or retirement routines, maybe flip on the news, maybe scroll the phone. You go through the motions, you check the boxes, and you think, I'm fine. But fine is just another word for stuck. And if you're in your 50s or 60s, let me tell you, you don't have decades to keep pretending. Midlife is a crossroads. Either you start designing the second act of your life, or you drift into decline. I want you to picture a boat on the ocean. No anchor, no rudder, no engine running, just sitting there. What happens? It drifts. Slowly at first, almost without noticing. But the longer it drifts, the further it gets off course. Some of you listening right now, that's you. The only difference is it's not a boat. It's your marriage, it's your health, it's your faith, it's your family relationships, it's your purpose. And here's the wake-up call. If you don't stop drifting, you're going to wake up one day at 70, 75, 80 years old and realized you've lived safe, but you didn't live full. You coasted, but you didn't climb. You survived, but you didn't thrive. So step 1 to living on purpose is simple. You got to wake up and take inventory. Now, why do so many of us drift? Let me tell you, because comfort becomes a coffin. We get into routines that feel safe, and then we confuse safety with life. Maybe you built a career and now you're coasting. Maybe you raised kids and they're out of the house, and now you just fill your days with busyness that doesn't really matter. Maybe your health has slipped, but you tell yourself, that's just aging. Maybe your marriage has gone flat, but you tell yourself, that's just what happens after 30 years of being together. No, it's not. That's drift. Let me give you an example. Bob, he's 58. Okay, he's got money in the bank. He's got a nice house. He's still married. From the outside, he's doing okay. But if you ask Bob how often he and his wife laugh together, how often they date each other, or if you ask Bob when was the last time he felt proud of his health, his energy, or his body, or when was the last time he looked in the mirror and saw fire in his eyes, he stares at you blank, because Bob has been drifting. And let's be real. Some of you listening right now, you're Bob. Or maybe you're Susan, 62, who pours herself into grandkids and house chores, but has lost sight of her own dreams. Or you're James, 55, who's killing it financially, but has no friends he can call when life gets hard. Drift happens because we let the urgent replace the important, because we confuse activity with purpose, because we don't stop long enough to ask the deeper questions. But step 1 changes that. So let me introduce you to the dashboard of life, the 7 F's. Here's how you wake up and take inventory. You check the dashboard of your life. Think about driving your car. You wouldn't head out on a cross-country trip without without a dashboard. No gauges, no speedometer, no fuel gauge. You'd have no idea if you're running out of gas or if the engine was about to blow. But that's how most people live their lives. No dashboard, no metrics, just drifting. So I want to give you a dashboard. I call it the 7 F's of life. These 7 key areas are the pillars of a well-rounded life. You need to take stock. You need to take inventory of how well you're doing in these 7 F's, 7 pillars, 7 key areas of a well-rounded, well-balanced life. Here they are. Faith, key number 1. Family, key number 2. Fitness, number 3. Friends, 4. Finance, number 5. Field, which is your work, career, or purpose, number 6. And lastly, fun. What is life like without fun? You want to definitely have fun. Those are the 7. Now, here's the exercise. What I want you to do right now in your mind is to score yourself honestly from 1 to 10 in each of these areas. Faith, where are you spiritually? Are you growing closer to God or drifting further away? Family, how's your marriage, your kids, your relationships at home? Fitness, do you have energy? Do you have strength? Do you have vitality? Or are you tired and sluggish all the time? Higher the score, the better you're doing. Lower the score, the worse you're doing. Okay, 0 to 10. Friends, do you have true companions, people who sharpen you, or are you isolated? Finance, not just money in the bank, but freedom, stewardship, margin. Field, are you using your life gifts, your individual personal life gifts in meaningful work, paid or unpaid, or are you just filling time? Fun, are you actually enjoying your life? Do you like your life? Are you laughing? Are you traveling? Do you do things that bring you joy? When most people do this exercise, they realize they've been lying to themselves. They'll give themselves 6s and 7s across the board because it feels safe. But let me challenge you. Don't give yourself a 7. A 7 is a cop-out. A 7 means I'm okay, but I don't want to face the truth. Force yourself to go 6 or lower, or 8 or higher. That way you're actually honest with what's going on right now in your life. So let's make this real. Pull out a piece of paper, open your phone notes, write down the 7 F's: faith, family, friends, fitness, field, finance, and fun. Give yourself a score for each right now. If you're driving, do it when you stop. Don't just think about it, but write it down. And then look at it. Really look at it. Which F's are strong? Which F's are weak? Where are you thriving? Where are you drifting? For some of you, faith might be a 2. You haven't prayed, haven't opened the Bible, haven't even thought about your spiritual life in months. For others, fitness is a 3. You've gained 30 pounds and your doctor's warning you. For some, family's a 4. You and your spouse are roommates, not partners. For others, finance might be an 8. You're killing it there, but it's hiding the emptiness in the other areas. So here's the truth. You can't live on purpose until you know where you are now. You can't build a plan without a baseline. That's why step number 1 matters so much. Let me put it in spiritual language. In Matthew 25, Jesus tells the parable of the talents. A master gives his servants different amounts of money and then leaves. When he comes back, he doesn't ask if they were safe. He asks if they were faithful, if they multiplied what they were given. Listen, your life, your family, your health, your money, your friendships, your calling, these are your talents. One day, you're going to give an account. And I drifted is not going to cut it. God has called you to more. He's called you to live awake, alive, and on purpose. So step 1 is simple, but it's not easy. Wake up. Take inventory. Stop drifting long enough to face the truth. Here's your assignment this week. Score yourself in the 7 F's. Write it down. Show it to someone you trust. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't pretend. Be honest. Because here's the reality. The drift stops where the truth begins. And until you face the truth, nothing changes. So wake up, take inventory, stop drifting. Your second act starts here. And if this is making any type of sense to you, if you like what you're hearing, let me assure you that I can help you. Accountability is a key piece to life change. If you'd like to explore possibly mentoring or coaching with me, all you need to do is text Greybeard, Greybeard, one word, Greybeard, Greybeard, Greybeard to 84503. I'll give you this latest handout, the 7 steps to living on purpose, if you reach out. But if you want to connect with me individually, if you'd like to explore personal accountability and specific life change for you, then text Greybeard to 84503. My team standing by right now will reach out to you. We'll definitely be in touch to see if we can help you to stop the drift. But by all means, continue to listen to the show because we are just getting started. All right. Step number 2 of 7 is face the drift. Okay. Let me ask you a brutal question. If nothing changes in your life over the next 5 years, if you keep going exactly as you're going today, will you be proud of where you end up? Sit with that. Don't brush it off. Really. Picture it. Same routines, same habits, same level of health, same marriage, same finances, same circle of friends, same faith practices 5 years from now. Does that vision excite you or does it terrify you? For most people in midlife, it's terrifying. And you know why? Because deep down, you know you're drifting. And drift is deadly. Drift is what turns 5 years into 10 years into 20 years of just existing. Drift is what makes men in their 60s look back with regret instead of forward with excitement. Drift is what keeps women who once had fire in their eyes now numbing themselves with Netflix and wine. Drift is what makes marriages flat, bodies weak, faith shallow, and purpose blurry. And here's the kicker. You can't fix drift until you face the drift. Now, let's be real. Nobody likes admitting they're drifting. And you know why? Because it forces us to look in the mirror and say, I'm not living the life I want. And worse, I've been lying to myself about it. That's painful. It's humbling. It's much easier to distract yourself, to tell yourself everybody coasts in their 50s, or that's just aging, or marriage is supposed to cool off, or faith is a private thing. I don't need to grow. You see, we avoid facing drift because facing drift requires action, and action means change, and change is uncomfortable. But let me tell you this, the pain of facing drift today is nothing compared to the regret of pain tomorrow. Well, let me say that again. Sometimes when you're doing a radio show, the words just don't come out right. The pain of facing drift today, okay, is nothing compared to the pain of regret for tomorrow. All right. That's the point I wanted to make. Picture this. You're on a raft in the ocean, no oars, no motor. You're just lying there. At first, it feels fine. Sun is warm. Waves are gentle. You're drifting. But then you look up an hour later and you realize the shoreline is further away. 2 hours later, it's gone. You're in deep waters now. Sharks swim here. Storms brew here. That's drift. It doesn't feel dangerous at first. It feels easy. It feels comfortable. In fact, it's silent. It's sneaky because most people don't even know it's occurring until it's too late. But given enough time, drift will take you places you never wanted to go. Drift in faith means you cold, empty, and shallow. Drift in family makes you distant, resentful, disconnected. Drift in fitness makes you weak, sick, overweight, and vulnerable. Drift in finance makes you anxious, dependent, strapped, and stressed. Drift in friendships makes you isolated and lonely. Drift in your field makes you irrelevant. Drift in fun makes you bitter, joyless, just existing. And unless you face it, drift will ruin your life. So here's a case study, okay? Let me tell you about David. 61, good man, worked 35 years at the same company, retired last year with a pension and savings. People said, David, you did it. You made it. You did good. But here's what David admitted to me. Quote unquote, I feel empty. My marriage is on autopilot. My kids are grown, but they barely call. My body hurts. And I don't know who I am outside of my job. That's an example of drift. 35 years of drift disguised as success. And the truth hit him like a ton of bricks when he retired. He realized he had built a career, but not a life. Facing the drift broke him, but it also saved him because it forced him to stop pretending. It forced him to say something has to change. Those of you out in Radio Land, you may be feeling that. You may be feeling that call. You may be feeling a prompting in your spirit. You may have felt it for a while now. I'm just the catalyst that's causing you to come face to face with it. If that's the case, text Greybeard, one word, Greybeard, to 84503. 84503. That 5-digit number, Greybeard, 84503. Let's dig deeper. Why do smart, capable, experienced people drift in their life in the first place? Reason number one, fear of change. Change feels risky. Drift feels safe. But in reality, drift is the riskiest path of all. Here's something else. Success sedation. You achieve some success, a house, money, stability, and then you sedate yourself with comfort. Comfort becomes your drug. Low standards. You compare yourself to people doing worse and say, I'm fine. But fine is just another word for failing slowly. Forgetting mortality. You think you've got plenty of time, but let me remind you, none of us are promised tomorrow. And if anything, over the last few weeks, we've come face to face with that reality. The assassination of a young man, Charlie Kirk, hit me really, really hard. And so we are not promised tomorrow. Drift is what happens when you stop asking hard questions. Drift is what happens when you stop pursuing growth. From a spiritual perspective, drift is neglect. Hebrews 2:1 says, we must pay the most careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard so that we do not drift away. Do you catch that? Drift happens when you stop paying attention. Drift is passive. Living on purpose is active. God never called you to drift. He called you to steward, to grow, to multiply, to use your talents, to live awake. So how do you actually face it? Here's 3 steps. Okay. Number 1, you gotta admit it out loud. Stop sugarcoating it. Say it. I've been drifting in my marriage. I've been drifting in my health. I've been drifting in my finances. I've been drifting in my faith. You got to say it. And saying it acknowledges it. You got to come face to face with it. Naming it strips it of its power. Okay. You got to feel the cost. Don't just notice the drift. Feel the consequences. If you keep going this way, what happens in 5 years, 10 years? Play the tape forward. What will your life look like? Who will you have become? Declare it as unacceptable. You've got to reach the point where you say, I'm done drifting. I refuse to coast in my life anymore. Until it becomes unacceptable, you won't change. You'll just keep tolerating it. Here's another case story. Maria, 59. Kids were grown, marriage polite but passionless, her health slipping. She admitted, I feel invisible, like I'm just fading out. Facing the drift was brutal for her. Tears, journaling, long conversations with God. But she made a choice. I'm not going to spend the next 20 years invisible. She joined a fitness group, started mentoring younger women, and began dating her husband again. Today at 63, Maria glows. Why? Because she faced the drift, decided enough was enough, took action, and started to live her life on purpose. So here, this week, I want you to do 2 things. First, take your 7F score from step 1, okay? Faith, family, friends, fitness, fun, field, finance. Rate yourself in those categories. Circle the 2 lowest ones. Those are where you've been drifting the most. Second, write this sentence in your journal or write it in your notes on your phone. I've been drifting in faith, family, friends, fitness, fun, field, finance, and I will no longer accept it. Wherever it is, say it out loud. Tell someone. Look yourself in the mirror because the drift only breaks when you face it. So let me be as blunt as I can. Drift is killing you softly. It's robbing you of vitality, intimacy, joy, legacy, and the longer you pretend it's fine, the worse it gets. But the good news is once you face it, you can fix it. Once you admit it, you can change it. Once you declare it unacceptable, you can rewrite the story. So stop drifting. Face the drift, say it out loud. I've been coasting and I refuse to keep coasting. And if you want more time with me, if you want more information like this, text Greybeard to 84503. I mentor high-achieving individuals. I mentor people that want to change their life. I mentor executives. I mentor business owners. I mentor anybody that's got a passion stirred in them to positively change their life, and I'm quite good at it. Text Greybeard to 84503. Everybody that reaches out, that texts Greybeard, make sure it's EY, not AY, Greybeard, one word, my name, Greybeard, to 84503. I'll send you also the 7 steps to living on purpose that we're going through today. So text Greybeard to 84503. All right, so I want to talk about step number 3. You got to decide who you want to be. You got to engage your vision, okay? There comes a moment in every man's or woman's life where you stop asking, what am I doing? And start asking, who am I becoming? That's the turning point. That's the fork in the road where drift ends and destiny begins. You see, step one was about waking up and taking inventory, looking at where you are right now in those 7Fs, those key areas of life: faith, family, friends, fitness, field, fun, finance. Step two was about facing the drift, being brutally honest about how your autopilot has stolen your fire. Okay. But step three is where things get exciting. Step three is where you decide, who do I want to be in the next chapter of my life? Listen, you don't drift into greatness. You don't coast into a legacy. Nobody drifts into an extraordinary marriage, an energized body, a flourishing faith, or a life of impact. Those things are engineered, they're planned, they're designed. Those are people that live on purpose. And that starts with one word: decision. Decision comes from the Latin word decidere, if I pronounced that correct. Here I am trying to talk fancy. Decidere, decidere, whatever it is, which literally means to cut off. To decide who you want to be is to cut off all other options. It's to say, this is me. This is my future. This is my second act, and I will not settle for anything less. Without vision, you're always returning to drift. Why? Because drift doesn't need permission. Drift doesn't need a plan. Drift just happens when you stop paying attention. But vision pulls you forward. Vision is the magnet that makes sacrifice and things uncomfortable worth it. Vision is what gets you out of bed when the alarm goes off at 4 o'clock in the morning. Vision is what makes you say no to a second drink because you want clarity tomorrow. Vision is what keeps you pursuing intimacy with your spouse instead of giving up. Here's a biblical quote for you. Proverbs 29:18 says it perfectly. Where there is no vision, the people perish. That word, perish, doesn't mean drop dead. It means wander, drift, to be lost, to lose discipline, to lose fire, to lose life. Without vision, you're just wandering. So let me give you an example. Susan, 62, when I met her, retired nurse, smart, kind, faithful woman, but she told me, I feel invisible. I don't really know what I'm living for anymore. I just feel like I'm coasting. We sat down and I asked her, okay, Susan, if God gave you 10 more years of energy and health, what would you want to do with them? At first, she just stared, looked at me blankly. She'd never even asked herself that question. But after a while, her eyes lit up. I'd want to travel to Africa. I'd want to mentor young nurses. I'd want to run a half marathon just to prove I could. That was the spark. She hadn't been living with vision, but once she named it, she came alive. Within a year, she had run her first 10K, joined a mentorship program, and started planning a trip to Kenya. Why? Because vision reawakened her spirit. Drift kills vision in 3 ways. It makes you stop dreaming. You convince yourself it's too late, so you shrink your hopes down to manageable goals. It numbs you. Comfort dulls your imagination. You lose the ability to picture anything better. It whispers lies to you. Drift says, that's for younger people. That's not for you. You missed your chance. But here's the truth. The most powerful visions often come in the second act of life, because now you've got wisdom. You've got life lessons. You've got scars. You've got perspective. And if you're willing, you've still got time. I want you to do an exercise with me. Close your eyes for a moment, especially if you're not driving. Picture yourself 5 years from now. You're 5 years older, but not just older, wiser, stronger, more alive. What do you look like? How do you carry yourself? What kind of shape are you in? Who's sitting at the dinner table with you? What kind of friendships do you have? What difference are you making in the world? How close are you to God and that relationship? What adventures are you taking? Okay, so let me ask you, is the person you just pictured anything like the person you are today? If not, that's your vision gap. That's where the work begins. So here's a tough one. Here's a challenge for you this coming week, okay, in this category. And you've probably heard of this before, but it's extremely powerful. I want you to write your own obituary. Yes, I said it. Imagine the newspaper article or the posting on social media, funeral program that sums up your life. What would it say if you kept living exactly as you are right now? Would it say he was comfortable, predictable, he was safe? Would it say she was kind, but she never really lived her life authentically? Or would it say he was bold, she was passionate, they lived with purpose and left a legacy? Now, rewrite it. Write the obituary you want to be true and let that become your vision. This next 10 years could be the best years of your life, but they're only going to be that if you believe that that's possible. They're only going to be that if you plan, if you live on purpose. Let's anchor this spiritually just a little bit. Jeremiah 29:11, you know it. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. You see, that's God's vision for your life. I believe that. Not to drift, not to decline, but to live with hope and purpose. But here's the truth. If you're still breathing, God's not finished with you yet. If you're still alive, there's still assignments on your life. You're not done. You're being called into your second act. All the more reason, if this is making sense to you, if you'd like to reach out, if you'd like to be mentored or potentially coached by me, let's have a spark call, an opportunity for us to get acquainted. All you need to do is text Greybeard, Greybeard, to 84503. Have an open heart, have an open mind, be committed to changing your life, and I will consider working with you. Text Greybeard to 84503. Do it because you want to change your life. Do it because you're tired of living the same way. Do it because you want to live life by design and by purpose. So text Greybeard to 84503. Okay, step number 4 here, declare your priorities. Okay, let's talk about priorities. Here's the truth most people don't want to face. You really can do anything, but you can't do everything. That's why most men and women in their 50s and 60s get stuck. They finally wake up, they see the drift, they even sketch a vision of what they want the future to look like, but then they try to fix everything at once. They start a diet, they join a gym, they buy a devotional, then they try to connect with their spouse and they call their adult kids, they launch a side business, they start saying yes to every social invitation, and within 2 weeks, they're burned out. Why? Because they forgot step number 4. Okay, step number 4 is critical. Step number 4 is where you declare your priorities. This is about living on purpose. This is about designing your life. Think of it like this. A flood spreads water everywhere but destroys everything in its path. A river channels water in one direction and brings life wherever it flows. Your life is the same way. If you spread yourself thin, you create chaos. But if you channel your focus, you create impact. Why priorities matter in midlife. At 25, you can run around chasing every shiny object you want. At 35, you can juggle a career, a family, a mortgage, and a few hobbies. But at 55 or 60, you know your energy is finite. You can't waste decades anymore. You've got to pick your battles. And that's not defeatist. That's powerful because the truth is what you focus on flourishes. You want proof? Look at your finances. Wherever you gave consistent attention in your life, you saw growth. Look at your health. Wherever you neglected it, you saw decline. Look at your marriage. Wherever you invested, there's connection. Wherever you drifted, there's distance. So step 4 is about choosing where you're going to invest your best energy now. That's what it's all about. Let's bring back to the dashboard, okay? Talked a little bit before about the 7 F's, right? Faith, family, friends, fitness, field, fun, finance. Those 7 key areas of your life. You need to take an assessment of those, right? So in step 1, you scored yourself. In step 2, you faced where you were drifting. In step 3, you built a vision. But now in step 4, I want you to circle the 2 areas where you most need change. Not 7, not 5, but the 2 areas. Why only 2? Because focus is power. If you choose 2 and go all in, you'll see real transformation in your life. If you choose 5, you'll dilute your own ability to change and you'll dilute your strength. Okay? So let's talk about a case study. John. John was 55, successful in business. His finances were an 8, but his faith was a 3 and his family was a 4. When he did our 7Fs exercise, he circled faith and family. And here's what he told me. I realized I've spent 30 years building a portfolio, but neglecting my soul and my marriage. If I don't change now, I'll end up wealthy, but alone. So he made those 2 areas his non-negotiable priorities. He started leading a Bible study. He started weekly date nights with his wife. And within a year, he told me, I feel more alive than I have in decades. That's the power of focus. That's the power of declaring your priorities. Now, let me address something. People talk about life balance, but let me be honest. Balance is a fleeting thing. For some, it can actually be a myth. Nobody has all 7Fs perfectly balanced at the same time always. Think of it like seasons. In one season, you may focus more on fitness, in another family, and another finance. The point is to not to balance them equally always, all the time, but to take stock, to live on purpose, to notice where you're drifting, and to pay attention to the areas that you want to improve. That's the core of this, okay? Matthew 6:33 says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Notice it doesn't say seek everything at once. It says seek first. That's priority. That's focus. When you align your life with God's priorities, everything else finds its order. So here's how you declare your priorities. Choose 2. Look at your 7Fs, all those scores, faith, family, friends, fitness, field, fun, finance. Circle the 2 lowest or the 2 that tug on your spirit the hardest that you know you need improvement in. Name the stakes. Ask, what happens if I don't improve this area in the next 5 years? Let the pain of what that looks like motivate you. Then you got to cast the vision. Write down what an 8, 9, or 10 would look like in this area. Be vivid. How would your life change? How would it be better? How would it be different if it was an 8, 9, or 10? Cut the noise. Decide what you'll stop doing to make room for focus. You can't add priorities without subtracting distractions. Build rhythms. Create daily or weekly habits that align with these 2 priorities. Case study. Maria, 60. Chose fitness and friends. She admitted, I'm lonely and I'm unhealthy. If I don't fix this, I'll die early and I'll die isolated. She made those her focus. She joined a walking group at her church. She started cooking healthier meals with a friend. Within a year, she lost 25 pounds and had a circle of women who lifted her up. Did she fix every F of her life? No. But by fixing those 2, her whole life lifted. She rose. She became better. You got to have the courage to say no as well. Declaring priorities means you have to say no. And saying no is hard, especially if you've lived decades as a people pleaser or a do-it-all achiever. But every yes is also a no. If you say yes to working 70 hours a week, you're saying no to your family. If you say yes to binge watching TV every night, you're saying no to fitness. If you say yes to coasting, you're saying no to growth. So the question is, what are you calling to say no to so you can say yes to what matters? So here's your challenge this week. Okay, take your 7F scores, circle the 2 areas that matter most right now, write them on an index card or a sticky note, put them where you'll see them daily, and underneath write, everything else is secondary until these 2 are strong. That's how you declare your priorities. So here's step 4, declare your priorities. Stop trying to fix everything at once. Stop chasing full life balance. Stop letting drift scatter your energy in every direction. Pick 2 areas. Lock in. Channel your focus. And watch what happens when you pour yourself consistently into what matters most. Because at the end of your life, you won't be remembered for how many plates you kept spinning. You'll be remembered for the things you prioritized. And when you declare your priorities, you stop drifting and you start designing your life. If this isn't making any sense to you at all, if you'd like to connect, if you'd like to reach out to me, and connect for mentoring or coaching, Text Greybeard, Greybeard, to 84503. My team will be in touch. The initial consultation is a spark call, 25-minute conversation to get acquainted, figure out what you want. I work with people that are adamant that they want to change their life, people that are tired of living stuck, people that don't want to drift any longer. I've been a serial entrepreneur. I'm married to my same wife, high school sweetheart, since we were kids. We got 4 beautiful boys. We've had a successful marriage. I've had 3 completely different 7-figure entrepreneurial businesses that I've created and scaled and run. I have a lot of wisdom that I can share, and maybe that wisdom can help you change your life. Text Greybeard to 84503. All right, so let's talk about step number 5. You got to break the chains of routine. So let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a man sitting in a recliner, remote in one hand, phone in the other. Every day looks the same. Wake up, scroll a little, go to work, come home, eat, TV, bed, safe, predictable, comfortable. Now fast forward 10 years. He's heavier. He's lonelier. His dreams have withered. His marriage is polite but distant. His faith is shallow. His friendships are few. What happened? Did tragedy strike? Did the economy collapse? No, nothing dramatic happened at all. He just lived the same day over and over and over again, like Groundhog's Day, until his comfort became his coffin. And that, my friends, is the power of routine. Routine can serve you, or it can enslave you. It can be the system that builds a legacy, or the chains that keep you stuck in mediocrity. And that's why step 5 is this: break the chains of routine. Here's the truth. Most of us are not living our lives. We're living our patterns. You brush your teeth the same way. You drive the same route to get to or from work. You eat the same meals. You think the same thoughts. You repeat the same arguments with your spouse. You repeat the same excuses with yourself. And without realizing it, you've set your life on autopilot. Autopilot works for airplanes, keeps them on course. But for human beings, autopilot is dangerous because drift loves autopilot. Autopilot is how a man wakes up at 60 and realizes he hasn't changed since he was 40. Autopilot is how a woman spends 20 years being busy but not becoming who she was meant to be. You don't drift because you're lazy. You drift because you've automated your life. Now, why do we cling to routines, even when they're killing us? Because routines feel safe. They don't require thought. They don't require risk. They don't require courage. They don't require change. But safety is not the goal of life. Growth is, purpose is, impact is, using your talents is. And here's the irony. The same brain that locks you into destructive routines can also build powerful new ones. Routines are not the enemy. Unexamined routines are the enemy. Let's talk about a little case study here. Rick was 57. For 20 years, his evenings looked the same. Came home, ate, reclined in a recliner, watched TV. He told himself, I deserve it. I've worked hard. But when he hit 57, his health was failing. His wife was bored, and he admitted, I feel like my life is just one big rerun. We worked together to break his routines. Instead of collapsing in the recliner, he and his wife started taking evening walks. I challenged him to do a mile a day every day for 1 month. They joined a cooking class. They started hosting friends once a month. At first, they said it felt a little awkward. But within 6 months, Rick told me, I feel like a different man. My marriage is alive. My energy's back. I'm excited again. And it all started with blowing up gentle, normal, everyday routines. What changed? Not his job, not his bank account, just his routines. So let me drop some psychology on you. Habits have 3 parts: the cue, the routine, and the reward. So cue, the trigger. For example, let's say maybe stress. Routine, the behavior. Pour a drink, open Facebook, turn on TV. Reward, the feeling, relaxation, distraction. So whatever it is, let's say stress. You stress about it. So to get outside of the stress, you go home, pour a drink, open Facebook, turn on TV. You're just trying to think about something else. You're trying to turn your mind off. Try not to think about it. And then you fall into relaxation or distraction. If you want to break change, you don't just cut the routine. You replace it. When stress hits, instead of pouring a drink, go for a walk. Instead of scrolling, call a friend. Instead of zoning out, open a journal. You can't ease into life change. It's got to be on purpose. You got to think it through, okay? You also can't erase routines, but you can rewire them. So here's a faith anchor for you, okay? Renewal of your mind. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Did you catch that? Patterns, routines, autopilot. The call is clear. Break conformity, renew your mind, and live on purpose. Live transformed. God is calling you to settle into new routines, better routines, purpose-filled routines, routines that are created by you because you're designing your life. He's calling you to replace them with rhythms of life, growth, and purpose. So here's my challenge to you on this subject. Don't try to overhaul everything. Just break one chain. If your mornings are dead, change your morning routine. Get up 30 minutes earlier. Pray, move your body, do something different. Brush your teeth with the opposite hand you normally use. If your evenings are dead, change your evenings. Replace an hour of TV with conversation, reading, planning, walking, playing with your dog, doing whatever. If your friendships are dead, break the routines of isolation. Pick up the phone once a week and call someone you care about. One change in routine can spark an avalanche of transformation. I'm somebody that knows. I did that. I changed my life completely. It all started with me doing a mile a day every day in the month of June back in 2014. It changed me so much I've never stopped. I've been doing it for almost, it was in 2016. So I've been doing it since June 1st of 2016. So I'm coming up on 10 years of doing a mile a day, and that simple act transformed my life, okay? Maybe connect with nature, maybe get outside, make me more spiritual, maybe had great conversations with my spouse, maybe had great conversations with my kid, anchored me to something that was outside of me that I would dedicate my life to every single day. I did it on crutches. I did it with the flu. I did it with COVID. The reality of it is it's been profound, and I've stacked other habits on top of that as well to continually evolve and change my life. And you can too. Let me tell you about Linda. Linda was 61. Her routine was simple. Wake up late, coffee, scroll Facebook, watch TV, nap, repeat. She told herself she was enjoying retirement, but she did admit she felt purposelessness and depressed. We broke one chain. She started her mornings with a gratitude journal and a 15-minute walk. That was it. Within a month, her energy lifted. Within 6 months, she joined a volunteer group. Within a year, she was mentoring some young women. One broken chain changed her life. So if you're ready to break the chains, here's the tool. It's a reset ritual. Once a week, ask yourself 3 questions. What routine is serving me? What routine is suffocating me? And what one new rhythm will I commit to this week? Then act. Do it. It's small, but intentional. See, there's danger of ruts. Let me warn you. If you don't break chains, routines become ruts. And ruts are just graves with the ends kicked out. Okay? That's what they are. They're graves. Some of you listening right now, you're in a rut with your spouse. You haven't had a new conversation in years. Some of you are in a rut with your health. You've been eating the same garbage for decades. And some of you are in a rut with your faith. Same prayers, same pew, no passion. If you don't break the rut will bury you. So here's your assignment this week. Identify one destructive routine you've been repeating for years. Replace it with one life-giving rhythm. Do it for 7 days. No excuses. Instead of scrolling for 30 minutes at night, read for 30 minutes. Instead of eating lunch at your desk, walk outside. Instead of collapsing in front of the TV, talk to your spouse. It's not about perfection. It's about disruption. It's about change on purpose. So here's step 5. Break the chains of routine. Stop living the same day on repeat. Stop letting comfort bury you alive. Stop drifting on autopilot. Life's too short to waste in ruts. Your second act is waiting. Your fire is waiting. Your legacy is waiting. But it won't come if you keep living the same patterns. So break one chain. Start one new rhythm. Live awake. Live alive. Live on purpose. Because the difference between drifting and destiny is the routines you choose. And if this is making any type of sense to you at all you need to do is reach out. We can connect if you'd like to be mentored or coached potentially by me. I've got limited availability. I've got 5 coaching spots available. For some of you out there in Radio Land, the right people, I'm looking for the right people that are definitely interested in changing their life, tired of settling, tired of being stuck, tired of being in routines, tired of drifting. You want to take action to change your life. If that's you, text Greybeard, Greybeard, to 84503. Once again, text Greybeard to 84503. All right, so let's get into step number 6. You got to engineer your life with goals. See, most people fail at change. It's not because they don't want to change their life. It's not because they're not smart enough or motivated enough to change. It's because they never built a system to make change real. They wake up one morning and say, I'm going to get in shape. And they do it for a week. And then life hits and they drift back. And they say, I want to be close to my spouse. And they plan a date night, but then they get busy and it drifts back to autopilot. They say, I'm going to start saving tomorrow money. And they make one budget and then they never follow it again. Why? Because intention without structure is just wishful thinking. And that's where step 6 comes in. Engineer your life with goals. This is where we take your vision and your priorities and build them into a system that works daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. Because if you don't engineer your life, drift will engineer it for you. Think about an airplane. If a plane takes off from Los Angeles headed to New York, but just drifts 1 degree off its course, by the time it crosses the country, it will land hundreds of miles away from where it was intended. Maybe in Washington, D.C., or Boston, or even out over the ocean. The same thing happens in your life. 1 degree off, one missed habit, one ignored discipline, one neglected relationship, and 5 years later, you end up somewhere you never intended. The only way to stay on course is to constantly recalibrate. And that's what goals do. They recalibrate your life plan. They help you recalibrate your rhythms and your routines. Now, let's be honest. Most people hate the word goals. Why? Because goals remind them of failure. You know, they've set goals before and they didn't hit them. But the problem isn't goals. The problem is bad goals. Goals that were too vague. For example, I want to be healthier. Way too vague. Goals that weren't measurable. I want a better marriage. What do you want to be better? How do you measure that? What are you comparing against? Goals that weren't time bound. Someday I'll start saving. Goals that weren't connected to vision. Bad goals discourage you, but good goals build momentum. So here's my framework for engineering your life with goals. Annual goals, the big picture, okay? What do you want 1 year from now in your top 2 priority areas? And then you write that out in vivid detail. On the quarterly goal side, these are checkpoints. You break the annual goal into 4 milestones. What does progress look like every 90 days? Then you have monthly goals. These are the adjustments. What 1 or 2 actions will move you closer this month to that quarterly or annual goal? Weekly goals. This is where the rhythms come into play. Okay, what are the habits or appointments you need to lock in every week to stay on rhythm toward accomplishing your goals? And then daily, the choices. What are the non-negotiable daily actions that align you with your priorities? If you're not looking at your annual goals daily, you're doing it wrong. You need to keep that vision, that perspective, kind of like a quarterback looking out across the field. You need to see everything. You need to have that vision. That's how you engineer your life. No vague resolutions, no big dreams with no traction, a system of goals that pull your visions into reality. So, for example, like James at 59, his priorities were fitness and family. He wanted to lose 30 pounds and rebuild his relationship with his daughter. So we engineered it. It can be that simple. Annual, lose 30 pounds. Have weekly dinners with his daughter. Quarterly, lose 7 to 8 pounds each quarter. Rebuild trust by showing up consistently with his daughter. Monthly, try one new activity with his daughter. Track food intake. Weekly, exercise 4 times, call his daughter, Sunday dinner. Daily, walk 30 minutes, journal gratitude for his family. By the end of the year, James was 28 pounds lighter and closer with his daughter than he'd been in 15 years. Because he was living on purpose, because he engineered it, because he kept it in front of him, because he kept focus. That's the power of engineering your life with goals. So, here's the secret. Goals don't just give you targets. They give you wins, and wins fuel momentum. Lose 2 pounds, that's a win. Go on a date with your spouse, that's a win. Put $100 in savings, that's a win. Call a friend you've ignored, that's a win. You stack enough wins, and suddenly you believe again. Suddenly you realize you can change your life. Suddenly you feel alive again. Drifters lose belief because they never stack wins. Builders create momentum because they engineer wins into their life. So let me be blunt. If you set goals in isolation, you'll fail. You need accountability. You need someone who asks, did you do it? That's why God designed community. Iron sharpens iron. A workout buddy, a small group, a mentor, a coach, a spouse. Somebody has to know your goals because drift thrives in secrecy. Purpose thrives in accountability. So here's what I want you to do this week. Pick one of your 2 priorities from step 4. Write your annual goal, break it into quarterly goals, and then rewrite what you'll do this month, this week, and today to move toward that. Don't overthink it. Don't make it perfect. Just engineer the first 90 days. Then find someone you trust and tell them. Find someone that loves you, that wants the best for you. Tell them. Give them permission to ask you about it. Okay? And all the more reason to reach out to me. And it looks like I'm not going to be able to get through the 7th habit. I was too long-winded today. You know, the 7th habit is find accountability and live loud. And we can talk about that if you decide that you'd like to coach or be mentored with me. And the best thing that you can do right now is I love working with people that are on fire to change their life. They just don't know how. Or they need somebody to hold them accountable and give them direction and give them support. That's exactly what I do in my mentorship practice. So if you reach out to me, you can do so by texting Greybeard, Greybeard, Greybeard to 84503. When you text Greybeard 84503, my team will reach out to you, connect with you. We'll offer you an opportunity to have a spark call with me. It's a 25-minute conversation where we can get better acquainted. I can understand a little bit more about where you are and what you want to do, and you can understand a little bit more about how I might be able to help you, okay? I am eager. I'm passionate. I'm persistent at helping people that want to change their life. If that's you, guess what? I'd love to potentially work with you, but we won't know unless you're proactive. We won't know unless you begin the process of reaching out and connecting with us. So to do that, once again, all you need to do is to take out your smartphone right now, go to your texting app, key in 84503, and then hit send on the word, my name, Greybeard, Greybeard. Text Greybeard to 84503. And rest assured, my friends, I'm going to be back here, same time, same place next week to talk more life change. Greybeard out. This is The Greybeard Show.
The Greybeard Show. Learn.
Build.
Grow.